if you are building emotional intimacy with another person, then that means there should be some level of vulnerability. There needs to be some level of trust with this person. The level of transparency that you provide is based on how intimate you feel with this person. If I know I can trust Memi with the things that I'm fearful about, that means I have a deep level of intimacy with her.
Typically, when there is no financial intimacy, one person is struggling with being vulnerable in that aspect for whatever reason. For me, it was insecure about my habits. Welcome to
Marriage Pinnacles Chats from the Peak, where God's favorites link up. My name is Dr. Lara.
And I'm Memi.
And this is Marriage Pinnacles Chats from the Peak. Woo! Hey, y'all. I don't know when we're going to lose steam. It's too early to lose steam because it's still January. But we're just really excited. Season 2, we're here. We're back. Thank you for joining us for another episode. If this is your first time here, we want you to like, comment, and subscribe. If you need to stay tuned a little bit more just to see what we're about, we are a marriage support platform that has a podcast, and we talk about all things marriage, all things relationships, and we do that from a clinical lens, a cultural lens, and a little bit of life experience.
That's my favorite part.
Yeah, that's your favorite part. It really is, though. If you're new here and you're rocking with us for the first time, Memi and I are Nigerian American firstborns, first daughters.
Yes.
Set the way for our siblings. Did a pretty good job in our eyes. We got 2 kids. We both have a boy and a girl. Her kids is a little bit older. But if you are here for the first time, I'm trying to get all of the things you might need to know about us out the way before we get into the episode. Memi's been married. This year be 13 years.
Oh my God.
Yeah, dog.
It's going to be what?
13 years. Wait a second. Oh my God.
I was just getting used to 12 years. Whoa.
Yeah, it's going to be 13 this year. And it's going to be 11 for me.
Jeez. Oh, you getting deep in there.
Deep, baby.
Deep in
Don't play. Talk to me nice.
Talk to her nice.
Come on now.
Not too nice.
Yeah, so we got little feet in the game. And so we just are here to kind of help you guys remember that marriage is not dead. It is a climb. It takes work. It can be. It is enjoyable.
It is a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing. It really is, and we want you to enjoy it just as much as we do. Yeah. And that does not mean it is not without its challenges.
Lord knows.
Come on now.
Lord knows. Y'all know.
Y'all know. If you've been rocking with us for any bit of time, you know. It's not all roses. Yeah. But we have husbands that we feel make it just a little bit easier for us.
They do.
Yeah.
We got some blessings. That's why we say we're God's favorites. Like,
yeah, literally.
They are the reason why we say we're God's favorites.
And
not to say y'all are not God's favorites, but
we're God's favorites link up. So it's here on this podcast.
Yeah,
it's built a little different. So thank you for joining us for another episode. If you're new here, we're filling it out. It's the beginning of the year. Episodes might be different this year. Last year we always had the internet chokehold. We had some listener letters, but this year
we're going with the flow.
We're going with the flow. If there's an internet chokehold, we're gonna throw one out there. If there's not, we're just gonna get into the difference.
That's what it is.
And that's what it is. Today we do have an internet chokehold. Yeah. And if you did not know, internet chokehold is just where we keep our ears to the streets. Through social media, through our friend groups, through whatever we're hearing on in the world. And we kind of bring it here, talk about it, see how it applies to relationships, marriages, and we discuss for a bit before we get into the relationship gems. Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
And then the second part is our relationship gems, where we kind of go into more practical advice.
Absolutely.
And because I think that's the most important thing about I think that's what sets our podcast apart from others, is that we really try to entertain as well as educate.
Absolutely.
Like, we're huge on the education. We're huge on you guys having something tangible you can take and apply to your life directly.
Absolutely.
And if we're not doing that, please let us know, because that is our goal. That is our mission.
Really.
So
truly.
that is what the relationship gems part is. Like, we do expect you to take out your notes or your little
note
section
apps,
on the note app,
and
just, kind of write things down that you can apply into your daily life, because at the end of the day, we do want to make marriage as easy as we can for you guys.
Yeah.
We want to help you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you feel like you have like we're not telling you to write the whole episode, right?
No.
But you will see or hear something that maybe applies to you that you can jot down, that is just a reminder when you're going through your week, when you're going through your day. Oh, I could do this a little differently, or I can apply this, or let me see how this works. And that for us is all that we're asking, and that is really our goal.
That's our goal.
You know, when we talk about our relationship gems. And like we said, sometimes the people want to know. That's if we have a listener letter, we'll read it and we'll see. You know, we'll give our lens and our experience to try to help that person out. And if not, we rock with the episode regardless.
Keep going.
Period.
Keep going.
So today, Mems, you know, we were thinking about the episode as we're starting the year, and I came across a clip. So I did not watch the entire episode, but Willie Moore Jr. He has a podcast and he is on the radio. But he had Dr. Canary on, she is a sex therapist, on the podcast, and they talked about the specific clip that I saw was just about sex, and it talked about how, you know, how it can be perceived from a man's perspective, and how, like, a lot of times, you know, the man is maybe the initiator in the beginning of the relationship, and it's almost like he's okay with it, but then it gets kind of, you know, stale, played out, repetitive, or whatever the case may be, and the man has maybe the unconscious expectation that the woman will initiate.
Like,
but
sometimes why don't you just
initiate?
Like, I want to feel wanted.
I want to feel wanted, and from the woman's lens, it's like, but you the initiator. Like, and I've never really had this, you know, I'm okay playing the backseat in this regard. And what that looks like, and how that can really be, that can impact what intimacy looks like. And, you know, as Memi and I were talking, I think that we kind of did like a poll with some of our guy friends and some of our girlfriends about what is intimacy, and like throughout the conversation we heard sex, right? And I think if you know anything just about intimacy can strengthen, impact, affect sex, but intimacy is not sex.
It's not one and the same.
It's not one and the same. It's not used. It's used interchangeably, but that's incorrect, and it should not be. And so, if you could guess, our episode today is about intimacy, and we think this is an important episode because not only for the girlies, but for the guys as well. Because when you equate intimacy to sex, there's a lot you're getting wrong, and there's a lot that's being missed, but then importantly, there's a lot that's impacting intimacy, which impacts your sex life.
Correct. So basically, what I'm taking from what you're saying is that sex is, for some, the end goal of intimacy, right? Like, it's the, I guess, holy grail, or like the last step.
The last step,
But some people act like it's the whole thing.
Correct.
And when you leave out the other parts of intimacy, it makes getting to the holy grail a lot more difficult. Because it's like,
you ain't getting to the holy grail.
You ain't going to get there,
or you're going to be the one initiating the holy grail every time.
Because other places are lacking. So
absolutely. So if you've been rocking with us for any amount of time, you know that we like acronyms. We like 5 steps, X amount of tips. When we can like make it digestible and chunk it up a little bit, it just helps us out. And it helps you kind of, I think it also helps the categories for us, and we hope for you, helps you kind of see the areas that you're maybe thriving in, but then also the areas you might have some deficits, right? And so we broke up intimacy into a couple of domains, and this is not our work necessarily, and we're like the initiator of this. There's multiple posts and research done on these things, but we also align with this way of breaking up intimacy. And so intimacy can be broken up into 5 categories, and probably more if you like. So we're breaking it up into emotional, physical, financial, spiritual, and intellectual.
Can you say that again?
Yes. So financial, emotional, intellectual, physical, and spiritual. And I did not say that in the same order both times. I do apologize. So I'm going to say it one more time.
Say it together.
Just five of them. Emotional, physical, financial, spiritual, intellectual. Okay, so those are the 5 areas of intimacy that we are going to cover. Do you want to talk about what intimacy was, or it's up to you?
Yeah, we can. Okay. Like, I think how we would define intimacy in to make it more of a general, broader term that kind of envelopes all those 5 areas is that it's a close, familiar, and affectionate connection. Yeah. So it's something that makes you feel connected. Like, I feel like I know this person. I feel like this person knows me. I feel like we are interwoven. I feel like we're intertwined because of all these different areas of intimacy are checked. Correct. So it's kind of like a...
Marrying.
You see, I have the motion, but the words were not coming. But it's like a marrying of 2 individuals. Yeah. And we're talking about it in a romantic, right? In a romantic lens. Yeah. But intimacy also applies to all relationships.
All relationships. There should be some form of intimacy within all your relationships.
You can be intimate with anyone.
Absolutely. I'm glad you highlighted on that, touched on that, because your friendships, there should be some form of intimacy. It should be. Why are your friends if you don't have no intimacy?
Be intimate. Yeah. And I think when we say intimate, immediately, again, like we're saying, you think about sex but it's not.
It's not. And hopefully after this episode, you can see how you can be physically intimate with your friends.
Yeah, for sure.
And it has nothing to do with sex.
Correct.
Come on now, right there. You see that? You see that? The touching. And it's all platonic.
One thing about a physical touch love language.
Come on now.
We do not discriminate. Okay? All right.
You and our video content creator, y'all gonna love touching somebody. But okay. So we're gonna get into emotional intimacy. So emotional intimacy is the ability to kind of share your thoughts, your fears, your feelings, your dreams with another person. And so we're going to talk through the lens of your partner, your spouse, right? Yeah. And so this can be sharing your joys, your frustrations, the goals that you have without fear of judgment. And so if we go back to the definition that Memi read, if you are trying to build intimacy with someone, that means you're trying to, again, build something that's familiar, something that's close, affectionate with another person. If you are building emotional intimacy with another person, then that means there should be some level of vulnerability with
I just said that.
this
oh my God, I literally
person.
Just thought about vulnerability.
Yeah, there needs to be some level of trust with this person, right? Yes. And in order to feel safe to be emotionally intimate, you have to trust this person. And if you think about the definition and what we just shared, that can extend to your partner. We're hoping your spouse, but like we also talked about the platonic part, that should also extend to your friendships. And now we understand there are different types of friendships and you require certain things from different types of friends, right? But there is still some level of emotional intimacy, right? At some level, at the most basic to the deepest of levels, you are sharing your thoughts, your feelings, your fears. And again, the level of transparency that you provide is based on how intimate you feel with this person. If I know I can trust Memi with the things that I'm fearful about, that means I have a deep level of intimacy with her. Correct. And intimacy is not synonymous with proximity. Correct. Just because Memi and I talk every day doesn't mean, but I do believe it has helped with our intimacy, because I feel like the proximity and level of things that we discuss, I have to be able to trust her, because again, this is a shared business. It's a shared partnership. I need to trust her to a certain level. Yeah. I need to. Go ahead.
And I think something that's important, I know we talked about this in one of our episodes before, is like when we talk about trust, right? In friendship, a lot of times we think about trust as just, if I tell her, she ain't gonna tell nobody. Or if I tell her, that is one aspect of trust. That's a big aspect of trust. But another part of trust is also just, I trust that if I tell her this, she's not gonna judge me.
Correct.
Or she's not gonna use it against me later.
That's good.
Or she's not going to, make me feel small or bad about what I'm sharing with her. Those are also barriers to vulnerability that's also applied in marriage, right? So like if my husband is coming to me saying, babe, I don't feel strong enough to handle this big thing. And he knows that I look to him as the person that is always strong. Yeah. The person that can handle everything. If he doesn't feel like he can come to me and tell me he cannot handle this is too much for him, it's because I have not created that environment where he can feel vulnerable to come to me with that and trust me that if he came to me and said, Memmy, this is a lot. I can't handle this. Yeah. I need a break. I need you to help me. Yeah. That I'm not going to judge him. That he can trust that I'm going to take that information and I'm going to spring into action. I'm going to help him.
Absolutely.
Versus, like,
you the man. Why ain't you
the man? You can't handle that.
What's wrong with you?
What you want me to do? I'm the wife. I'm the woman. You know. So it's
the passenger princess.
Yeah, I'm the passenger princess. Like, what you mean you want me to drive to Baltimore? Why would I do that? You know. But it's like,
what you mean you're tired?
Yeah, I'm tired. Wake up.
You better wake up.
You want to stop and get some coffee? Because I'm not driving, you know? But it's like you need to create an environment where you guys can feel comfortable being vulnerable in order to have that emotional intimacy.
So good.
Because you cannot have emotional intimacy if there is no vulnerability or trust. Impossible. Human beings are wired to protect ourselves in all aspects.
Yes.
Whether or not we
self-preservation is the name of the game.
Self-preservation is a survival
yes,
instinct.
Absolutely.
It's something that comes natural to us.
Yes.
So in order for you to be able to let down those walls, you have to create, and that goes both ways.
Yes.
You know, a lot of times as a woman, we'll say, "Oh, my husband doesn't share with me. Oh, my husband doesn't feel."
But Shawnee ain't give him the space to do that. How you supposed to be?
It goes both ways.
How you supposed to be intimate and you always nagging him when he? What? How that work?
How you want him to come tell you what's going on when you always talking about your problems and he don't have me, and he can't get a word in edgewise and he feel like he gotta help you all the time and he don't have no space to, let his guard down. That's something I had to work through.
And not even that though, but then he feels like diminished because he tells you and now you're using it against him.
And that happens a lot.
You think he ever gonna come back and tell you again?
He ain't coming back. And
if he does, it's going to take a lot of rebuilding for him to come back and reopen that door when he's already feel like he's been trampled on.
Exactly. Especially the way men are raised in general.
Yeah, no, literally.
Especially men in our generation. Like, I feel like our millennials are raising more emotionally aware kids.
Yes.
But the way we were raised, boys are not really allowed to express and be open and tell you how they're feeling or tell you how your actions affected them. It's suck it up and stop crying.
Yeah.
So when they grow up, if you want that out of your husband, you have, that's going to be work. That's progress to get that.
It's so crazy because when you said that, it immediately made me think of Pastor Philip Mitchell. I don't know if you know him. So he is a pastor of 2819 and he talks a lot about just being vulnerable and crying. He's very in touch with how he feels. Will cry on the pulpit, will cry on a podcast. He doesn't care, God, but the thing is he says, I am like this. And mind you, when you see him first glance, he's from New York, wears all black all the time, got the act, everything. So when you see him, you would never, 5 minutes in, you're like, oh. 20 minutes in, no, 5 minutes in, you're like, he is, first of all, fire, but then 20 minutes, he's crying. Oh, wow. But the thing is, he's like, he's like, I need to show this level of intimacy. I need to show you all this because at the end of the day, I want my heart to break for the things that break God's heart. So he's like, if I show you this, if I'm transparent in this way, it allows that it allows the space for you to also do it. But then, so it's it creates that space, like you talked about, that environment.
Yeah.
But again, millennials, and it could happen with any generation. So we're not saying this is specifically millennials, but we have not always had that space for the men to do that. Correct. Without being labeled as a certain thing or labeled as a certain way or whatever the case may be. And so it's looked down upon. And then if we throw in the cultural aspect, I don't really see a lot of Nigerian men crying like that.
I've seen my dad cry. My dad is 73. I've seen him cry twice.
I've seen my dad cry once or twice.
Yeah.
I think, once or twice. Yeah. When his father died, and he teared up when I walked down the aisle. Yeah. When he was walking me down the aisle. But when we were in the car. Yeah. But other than that,
same.
Nah, not too much.
Yeah.
Not too
my
much.
My dad was when his older brother died and when my cousin died. Yeah. He cried. That was it.
Yeah. So it's not common, and so if we're even talking about from a cultural lens, that might even be difficult. So let's even say, for instance, you, maybe you were born in America. And so that is very normal for you to express your emotions. But then you are now with somebody who is not born here. And so culturally, that is maybe it's maybe looked at as a sign of weakness. That is an area you're going to have to work through so that you guys can be on the same page about intimacy, about emotional intimacy. Yeah. So, you know, that's just some things that we want you to be mindful of. And so we're going to get through, Memi touched on a little bit about the barriers, but we're going to go through all of the different types of intimacy and then talk about the barriers that can be impacting your ability to be. No, that was good though. I love girl, you was flowing.
You know I be jumping around.
You was flowing, girl. You flowing. And I like it. I love it for you.
Thank you, sister.
So next we have physical intimacy. And so like we said, the misconception is typically physical intimacy equals sex. And it's a lot of times the lead up, right? And so that could be holding hands, kisses, cuddling, date nights, whatever, which involve you sitting in close proximity to one another.
So sorry.
Go ahead. No, girl, jump in.
But the couple that sits on the same side of the booth, that's me.
Oh,
that's me.
Yeah.
We sit on the same side because
you want to be close. You want to be close. You want to be close.
You know?
Yeah.
So sitting across and then yeah, that's cool. But I'm just trying to sit. If I can sit next to you in the booth, I'm gonna sit next to you every time.
Yeah. Me and Tella, we do that sometimes.
I think it's so cute.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, sometimes I do like it. I like it though. Like when you're just close. Yeah, it's better.
Intimate date night. So that's part of the physical closeness.
Yeah. So that, and if you see, we did not use sex. Now, sex can be a part of intimacy and it can lead up to sex. But if you notice, we did not even use that as an example because there's so many other things that can produce physical intimacy that have nothing to do with sex, right? And if we're thinking about on the platonic lens as well, you know, again, myself and Memi I'm not touchy-feely. However, I recognize that is important to her. So the holding of the hands, the touches, the hey girl, that, you know, all that. Physical intimacy,
you know,
that is all important, and it helps to build. Because again, like if I know that Memi can hold her hand out to me and I take it, it helps her know that the next time she does it, I'm gonna extend my hand.
Because think about it, she hold her hand, I'm like, girl,
I'm like this. You know, other way around, because you're gonna be the one that extends your hands every time.
That's what I'm saying. If I do like this, and you're like, girl, if you don't get it, I'll be like, oh.
You're like, I'm not gonna do that again, especially not on camera.
Exactly. She ain't about to play me.
She ain't about to play me. So yeah. So and that's the same thing with our spouses, right? Like if our spouses, like my husband is absolutely more physical touch than me.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. Tell us more. Yeah. That one grabbing the titty or something every time. Like I'm like,
good job, T.
I'm like, okay, all right.
Good job, T.
Now I've gotten used to it. I'm just putting my hands behind my back. Okay, are you done? All right. Okay. All right. But that's not me.
Are you done? Is outrageous.
Not are you done, but like, okay, get him in. Cup feel. All right, okay. So like, okay, I am not. That is not me.
Yeah.
Naturally, that is not me. Yeah. So, but I recognize that is very important to him. Yeah. So, you know, if I'm always, and the thing is, I used to like move his hand away jokingly. Yeah. So voice stop. But that could also, again, if he's trying to build that and not recognizing that, like, that can appear like rejection to him.
Yeah, that's real.
When it's not, you know, when it's just like boy, stop, I'm cooking. Like, as opposed to.
The cooking can be a lot. I'm not going to lie. Like, I love it, but at the same time, it's like. I'm trying to focus.
Like, I want to cook the meal that we're going to eat for dinner.
Back up.
And then my kids be like, Daddy, why are you touching mommy? And I'm like, get your daddy, please.
Like, y'all don't want another sibling.
You're not getting another sibling, actually. You're not getting one. You're not getting another sibling.
Sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. So again, like that is important because if your spouse feels rejected, you know, and they're not going to want to do it the next time. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Especially you're taking away that atmosphere.
You're taking away that atmosphere or closing the door to it, you know? And so we want to recognize that if the goal, again, really is to have sex at the end of the night or that day or whenever, the buildup of this intimacy helps to produce an atmosphere of sex and being enjoyable and not feeling like a chore.
Correct.
You know?
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct. That's so good.
Yeah.
And I think to the next step that you said is that it can go both ways, right? So it's like if you're always the one being touched or caressed, there's nothing wrong with you sharing it. Or like he walks by, you rub your little hand down your chest, or you know, whatever. Yeah. But just to make sure that it's also being reciprocated, and so that they also can feel you know, like they can also feel the physical intimacy and it's not going one way, going back to our international code of initiating and versus not initiating.
That's good, ma'ams. Mm-hmm. Ma'ams, I really want you to do the next one.
Oh, sure.
No, I don't think it's hard.
What a jerk. Sorry, guys. Laura is so funny, fam. Okay.
I know.
So the next one is financial.
If y'all don't know Memmy, go watch our old episodes, please.
If y'all have watched any episode, y'all probably know how financial intimacy, wow, has been a journey in our almost 13 years of marriage, right?
Praise God.
So financial intimacy is trust and openness around money matters, including budgeting, goals. We talked about goals in our previous episodes, spending habits, and what can build that intimacy is being able to have transparency.
What was that?
That is a new one.
What?
Transparency. That's crazy.
Transparency. Maybe it's French. That's French.
Transparency. Okay. Transparent conversations about finances, joint financial planning, and dreaming and setting long-term goals.
That's good.
So I think a good example of financial intimacy is y'all have heard the story 1,000 times. Like basically me being very self-conscious about my finances and how I spent money, and we had absolutely no financial intimacy because every time it was time to talk about finances, I got defensive. Dapo would ask me, "What did you buy from Target?" Fight.
What you want to see the receipt for?
Why you want to see the receipt?
Stuff for the house.
Because you spent $300.
Because you spent $300.
What did you buy?
What did you buy from Target?
Immediately, it's like, why are you asking me about that?
Yeah.
Is it because you don't trust me?
Yeah.
Is it because you think I just waste money? And immediately got defensive because of the insecurities I had around how I manage finances and some of the situations that I put our family in because of my financial habits. So we've really, really improved. God has been so faithful to us.
Job.
Yes. Yeah. And I think one of the things that really helped us was that joint financial planning, being able to say, we've always kind of had a joint account, but we used to still kind of do our own thing. Yeah. So I think like putting everything in a bucket and saying like, okay, everything is in one bucket. Yeah. Let's plan from there. I mean, I still get my allowance. Like,
what's up?
Let's not get crazy. Let's not get carried away.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying?
Our upkeep is a little bit more than theirs.
We got things to take care of. You know, as a woman. So, but in general, everything is coming out of that pot. So that means our savings are together, our investments are together, our debt paying down.
Okay, paying down the debt.
Yeah, debt elimination.
Yeah,
that's together. So we're doing all these things jointly, and I feel like that has given us that common goal, that shared goal, and that has really helped our financial intimacy. I think the trust is rebuilding. I still, like I think we talked about it in the previous episode. I be having a little bachata, a little backsliding.
That Q4, baby.
So that's, Lara set me up with that, but it's all good.
I love that.
Talking about it. Financial intimacy, but I think my advice to everybody else would be working through if there are issues with financial intimacy, work on the issues personally first. Because typically someone feels more secure than the other. Yeah. And you're not matching, you're not aligning. Or someone feels more like, I have to protect this because if I don't protect this, I've lost so much in the past. Yeah. I can't lose this. Yes. So I'm not going to tell you what I'm doing because it's none of your business because I built this by myself. So I don't need your help. So it's just kind of like typically when there is no financial intimacy, one person is struggling with being vulnerable in that aspect for whatever reason. For me, it was insecure about my habits because I knew that I was off the hook, but I didn't want... You know what I'm saying? I didn't want to face it. I didn't want nobody to tell me myself. I just wanted to do my own thing. And so that required a lot of maturity and growth and therapy.
You want transparency? I love that for you.
You feel me?
Stop. I love that for you.
You know we can do
I'm getting real comfortable with like reaching out my hand.
I like
now.
That. You're doing good. Look at you.
Okay.
Growth.
Growth, girl. So the next one is spiritual.
Yeah.
Intimacy, and this can be connecting through your shared faith and or your spiritual practices. And so that's praying together, that's attending church, or serving in ministry as a couple, or whatever that looks like for you. And so something I talked about, I think it was our last episode. I talked about something that my husband and I started implementing at the top of last year, was just praying together every day at 5 a.m. And we pray for 30 minutes. And I think that was a way for us to align our intimacy through in a way by connecting to God together. And so I was able to kind of hear the things that he was praying about, praying for, how he prayed for our family. And so that was important to me. And then also just the consistency in our faith journey. I think that we're not necessarily in the same place, but I do believe that like it's great to see that our love for God is united. Number one, we both have the shared belief that what we have is because of what he's given us. Where we are is because of where he's placed us. So that is important to me, and I think that what I do within our church or whatever the case may be is supported by him as well. And so we might not be doing the same things or whatever, but he supports what I do. Which has helped me just grow in my spiritual faith. So I think that for me has been like paramount. I can't even lie.
Yeah. I think that's good. 'Cause I think a lot of times when people get married, you often hear people talk about like this 3-string chord, like husband, wife, and God.
Christ, yeah.
Or you can't build a marriage without God being the center of the marriage, or God brought us together. Let no man put us asunder.
Yeah,
it's like you hear all these sort of
Proverbs.
Like saying Proverbs, little things on your wedding day, especially people that get married in like church or Christians, but you don't really hear how to put them into practice. You hear like, oh, God should always be the center of our marriage, but what does that look like?
What does that look
how
like?
do you do that?
Yeah.
So I love that you mentioned that praying together, because something as simple as that really builds that spiritual intimacy.
So good.
And also finding the church home together. I know when we were younger, my mom used to always say that a house that goes to, like, if a husband and wife go to different churches, it creates confusion or something. And that's her opinion, but I do believe that it can help build your spiritual intimacy if you worship together.
Absolutely.
And this doesn't go for interfaith couples. There's some couples where they're not the same religion, but if you are the same religion and that's what you're building your relationship on, then that does help build spiritual intimacy if you're drinking from the same fountain.
Absolutely. And I think that that's so good because, if I'm hearing one teaching from one pastor and then you're hearing a different, and the thing is, both of you love God, but just like, how can the conviction that we are hearing together helps us walk, in my opinion, in more alignment.
It does. I mean, I definitely, if we're talking about just intimacy and closeness and togetherness and being on one accord, it just makes it simpler. It makes it easier when you worship together and you're learning the same thing, because every pastor has different approaches and different ways they teach the word or doctrines or whatever, but when you're getting from the same place, it's a lot easier than me coming home and saying, oh, my pastor said this, and you're like, my pastor, well, we don't really believe that.
We don't believe that in our church.
Because
that's not what we talk about in our church.
That's not what we don't really do that. He don't have no problem with that, so it's just it can just be a little bit it can create distance and fissure, and not in every scenario, but just in general terms, it does make it easier to worship together.
I like that. And lastly is intellectual intimacy. And so this is connecting through shared interests, ideas, stimulating conversations. And this is engaging in stimulating conversations Not too much on us. Okay, not too much on us. Not too much on us.
Did I hear conversations? Someone say conversations?
We're learning something new together, and I love that for us. All right, Mems, you're marketing bag this year.
I'm sorry, guys.
Come on now. I love it for us.
I hear conversations. I'm like
conversation. Who?
Did you call?
101.
101
to reach the peak.
Are you like, do you need help? If you need help talking, we got you covered. You know what I'm saying?
Not too much on that.
Check the link.
Not too much. Link in bio. But yes, it's like, how can you deepen your relationship through the things that you are learning, the ideas that are coming to your head? And, like we said, one thing we're going to do is we're going to play all day. But, when we do talk about our conversation cards, we believe this is a direct way for intellectual intimacy, because you learn something new about each other every time. And one thing that we talk about, like when you read our like little welcome or on the back of the box, it says, as the seasons change, so might your answers, right? So like something I said today, 5 years, by the end of the year, could be a completely different answer.
Just simply based on my experiences.
Just based on my experiences. And so if I am continually or being intentional about building my intellectual intimacy with my partner, then that means I'm constantly letting them in to the things that are different about me, the ideas that are different about me, the way that we're stimulating ourselves through intentional conversation. That happens when you are being intentional about learning about one another in whatever way that could be. So that could be through conversation cards, that could be through reading a book. And so we want to make sure that you guys are attempting to build intimacy in multiple ways. And so one thing we didn't do is that we didn't kind of give examples of each one. We do that. We did I did just now for intellectual. We said using the cards, possibly like reading a book together.
Spiritual, you said church. Financial, I said me.
Okay.
Physical, we talked about sitting on the same side.
Okay. So we did?
Yeah. Emotional.
Because I think I had intentional ways. It's fine. That's cool.
I feel.
Yeah.
You got the how-to at the bottom.
Yeah. So we, again, for those of you who
we can bring it back to synopsis and
cool. Yeah. So we typically try to like plan, not necessarily with specific things that we say, but just to make sure we keep ourselves, because we can go off on a tangent, and so we just try to keep ourselves a little accountable, But we're gonna get into like barriers, so things that really impact intimacy. And we kind of talked a little bit about, Memi gave a great example at the beginning of the episode about what things can impact intimacy. And so one of the things that I wanted to highlight was the time, right? In order for you to be close, feel connected, feel attached to somebody, there needs to be time spent. There's got to be time spent, and again, like I mentioned, just because Memi and myself known each other since we were little does not mean our intimacy was cultivated because of the duration of time. It is the intentional and quality time that myself and Memi have spent with each other that has built our intimacy.
Yeah, because I feel like there are times when, like, you lived in Philly, I didn't see you that much. I definitely didn't feel as connected to you as we do now. We talk so much.
So it's
that time
not
spent is crucial.
It's crucial, right? And that and also, but just to piggyback off of that, it's not even also like the actual physical time spent with each other, because Memi and I don't live. Memi lives in another state, right? And so, just because she lives in another state doesn't mean that it impacts how close we are. Crazy. Because we talk and we're intentional about what we talk. She doesn't really live in another state, but it might as well feel like another state. But like, because we spent intentional time with what we talk about, what we discuss, that is where our intimacy has developed. Because there were times like I was not living here, but we spoke frequently. And so there was intimacy that was built at that time. And so it wasn't necessarily the proximity of location. It was the things that we were discussing. And then even now, like, we've known each other for so many years, but it's the intentional things that we're discussing that has created the intimacy. Memi, I think we both talked about just that trust and vulnerability. Right. So just highlighting that again, that is a direct barrier to intimacy. That's a direct barrier to intimacy, but then also like trauma. And I think you even touched a little bit on that, just even with like the finances. And that could be trauma in any regard, right? Like if in a past relationship you were berated because you opened up about how you felt, or you weren't affirmed when you shared something, or you weren't supported. We go to guys, right? When a guy isn't supported in his desire to want to be vulnerable, and his girl is constantly like putting him down or bad mouthing him for being vulnerable, that can be traumatic and really impact the next relationship. Absolutely. Or impact the marriage now.
Absolutely. I think we see that so much. You see the remnants of past toxic relationships that show up in what could be healthy relationships, but the trauma from what the last person did or the person before that did, it just rolls over because it becomes hard-coded in you, hard-coded in your DNA. And it requires the work to sort of undo those things. And then lastly, we kind of talked about it as well, but we're just trying to make sure we got some bullet points for you, is the financial secrecy, right? So based on like based on how you grew up and your idea of what money means and how you had money, your access to money or lack thereof, to money, the access to money can impact like what you are openly willing to share in terms of your financial intimacy. And then also, like you said, the insecurities that you might have can directly impact how you are open in regards to like money and finances. That's really good. That's really good. And so I think we talked about what intimacy is. We talked about what are some of the barriers. And now we want to talk about like, how do you rebuild intimacy? I know we gave examples, sprinkled them throughout, but if we want to just give you different ways on how to rebuild intimacy in all the categories. So first, if you're lacking in emotional intimacy, I think one of the barriers we talked about was time. So what's going to be important for you if you are working on building emotional intimacy is to create a routine. So like routine check-ins. It doesn't have to be every day. That's good, but it doesn't have to be. It could be weekly. It could be a date night, like a regularly scheduled standard date night. And it could be ways to just make sure that you're being consistent and intentional on asking your partner how is he feeling outside of the hustle and bustle of life. So it could be just every morning before when either your spouse leaves or before you go to drop off the kids, you can just do like, hey babe, how are you feeling? How was your night? Did anything impactful happen yesterday? Where's your head at today? Like, or, during date night, take some of the cards, maybe ask some questions and just try to figure out where that person is emotionally. So good. That's one of the ways to rebuild intimacy emotionally on an emotional level.
That's good. So physical, I mean, again, we've talked about not just sex, right? But things like butt squeezes and hugs from the front or hugs from the back, kisses on the cheek, secret handshakes with your spouse, that are not necessarily attached to sex or foreplay, but can build up what leads to sex and foreplay, right? So just because you get a butt squeeze, don't mean we have sex tomorrow. I mean, tonight or in the next hour. It literally could just be a way of me feeling connected to you.
And I think a lot of women talk about how sex is like a build-up.
It is a build-up.
Right? I feel like you hear that from a lot of girls. Like, men can just like, whoop, turn it on, we're ready. But women, we kind of need...
Takes a little bit of time. Starts the minute you wake up.
And that's what they'll always tell you, that it starts the minute you wake up. So it starts with the text. It starts with the touches, the closeness, and just the proximity, just to feel that like desire, and start to what they call oil the motor.
Get it going. Rev it up.
The motor started.
Rev it up.
If you want to hit the jackpot tonight, gotta put some work in.
Put some work in,
and that's
please.
Just, and not every woman. Of course, we speak in generalities. That'll work.
I hope so. It sounded good.
Generality.
It sounded good. I don't know. It might not be, but
I hope so. It sounded good.
It sounded good. Generality, it did, but I don't really know if it.
We speak in general terms. We're not talking about that. I don't want to hear some girl that is like my sex drive is on 1,000 every day. Like we're talking about you, baby girl.
The rest wiggly line thing. It didn't come up.
Oh,
so it must be. It must be a word. Yes.
We're not talking about you, girl. We're talking about in general terms.
Yes.
Like most of the people I know, and that's what we talk about. Like I needed to start, from
just a little bit earlier. Yeah. Just a little bit earlier. Yeah. So you want to do spiritual?
Yeah, we can do spiritual. So some of the things I know Lara talks about praying every day.
Yeah.
Me and Dapo, we fast every week and pray together. And so that would be something we suggest if you're working on rebuilding intimacy, whatever your religion is. For us, we're Christians, so it's going to be praying to God on a regular basis, attending church together. On the Bible app, they have these Bible plans. Me and Lara do one where we try to read through different books in the Bible. But you could do that with your spouse. Just say pick a topic, whatever anyone's going through. For me, I've done plans on grief. I've done plans on building self-confidence. I've done plans on anxiety, fear. So whatever topic, like, and that's again all the intimacies are all connected. But if you and your spouse have gone through working on emotional intimacy and he's telling you like, babe, I'm feeling kind of anxious, spiritual intimacy, jump over there and say, babe, let's do a plan together let's do a plan together on anxiety and let's see what the word has to say about that.
That's good.
So and then also, like we said, attending church, but not just letting it stop there on Sunday on the way home from the car. Like, babe, what did you take from the message today? Or
and perspective, getting the perspective of your spouse. Yeah, for sure.
And just kind of like really, I don't know. I just think, like, I know we're talking just in general terms, but it really is just daily work and intentionality. I know we use that word a lot as well, but just that desire to really be close to one another. Like I feel like you can make it could be very complicated or it can be very easy just based on how bad do you want to be intimate? How much do you want to grow your intimacy in these different categories? Because I'm saying these things, it sounds pretty easy to me. It sounds straightforward.
Maybe when you talking, I'm sitting there like, ooh, child, okay. Literally, anytime I pause on talking, I'm like, ooh, okay. Gotta do that. It's rolling off the tongue. But in my mind, you guys, I'm like, ooh, child, I need to work there. I need to do this. I need to do that.
But I feel like, and so I'm saying that because I'm like, the way I'm talking, I'm making it sound real easy, but I know it really is not that easy.
It's not.
So, but it is, again, like, it's just how badly do you want this thing? How badly do you want your marriage to work? And I believe anybody watching this show, you're watching it because you want your marriage to work.
Facts.
So, financially, some of the things that we will say you could do to rebuild intimacy is having a regularly scheduled meeting, money meeting. And if y'all work in corporate America, y'all have meetings all day long, every day.
And have one on this too.
So it should not be that much of a problem to have a 25-minute meeting with your spouse once a week. And I'm saying it, me and Dapo have not had a money meeting in months. So I was like, it's easy, but we have not had a meeting in months.
You
like
happy?
We walk.
You happy about that? You happy about that?
I'm not.
Oh, okay.
No, because I changed now. You
changed. Okay. You're like, dang, we need to get back on it.
Be financially intimate now, girl.
But I think that's a good point, Mamie.
Yeah.
Just because you hit the mark, it takes work to stay there.
Say it again.
That's because you literally just came to.
That's a word.
But so just because you hit the mark and you finally get there, you have to do the work to stay there. Because it's so easy to fall back in old patterns. It's so easy to fall back.
Like, he'll walk by the office and be like, yo, we got to have a finance meeting. I'm like, yes, we need to do that.
Yes.
Till tomorrow.
Have you had that
meeting? When are we having our meeting? Like, stop. Like, come on.
So, yes. So, it is so easy to fall back into old patterns if you are not intentional. And which is why we always talk, it's a climb. You are not ever, to stay at the pinnacle takes work.
Takes work.
You're not going to just stay there.
Takes work.
You're going to have to keep working. And like I said, it's enjoyable work. Because again, you've already laid the groundwork. So, it's not like the stress is the meeting or having the meeting. Because I've already broke down my walls. I've already discussed my insecurities. I've already done all of those things. Now it's just let's get back in the routine.
It's just the routine.
Just back in the routine.
And it's the routine of making sure that we're having our meetings and making sure that we're checking in, making sure that our budget is updated, and so we can actually sit and talk and go through it. So when it's scheduled, that breaks the tension. We had a recurring meeting, and then somehow the meeting got lost, and so now that's why it's like, oh, how do we do it? So what I'm gonna do after this is I'm gonna put it back on the calendar. That when we see it, we be like, oh, hey, let's do our meeting. And that also takes the tension. That takes the tension out of it, and you can make the meeting cute. I think sometimes it's a little bit. It can be menacing. At least I know for me. So it's like, have snacks, have some food, do it over dinner, make it an enjoyable situation.
It doesn't have to be difficult. It can be hard if you trying to tighten things up or whatever.
And find the time for real.
Find the time. Be intentional.
Is the most difficult part, but carving out their time.
Yeah. And then lastly is intellectual. And so this can be done over books. This can be a topic. Again, Mamie talked about, even just the Bible app, using that on a specific topic, that could still be intellectual because you're learning something about a specific topic together. Having a book that you guys want to read about, there's a couple books that Mamie and I talked about doing with our husbands that you could say, okay, we're going to intentionally read this book, discuss things, and what are the findings that we got out of this book to grow ourselves in that capacity. Again, the conversation cards, like being intentional about learning more about one another in a specific area. There's a specific question. Not about to go down a rabbit hole, but what are your political beliefs, right? We did an episode about this, not necessarily on politics, but we talked about it. It's like, okay, this is how you feel, like this is how you felt years ago, but now based on certain things that have happened in my life, this is where I'm at, wanting to know how that came to be, what prompted that, and how to now navigate what that change looks like within your marriage, right? In order to continue to develop intellectual intimacy. So again, we think that these are some little ways, we're all about giving like free giveaways. Not free giveaways, but free things in order to keep you on the train of being intentional. And so we created more ways, like 15 additional ways to be intimate that you can download for free in the link in bio for more ideas on how to, bolster your intimacy within your relationship.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And that's really it. I definitely think I really love this topic, and kind of came out of nowhere for us, but I just think the intimacy topic is so rich, and it's so filled with so much you can do.
Really,
because if you don't have intimacy in your marriage, then it's hard to be difficult. It's gonna be hard. It's hard to get anything done. And I think that there's those barriers. I feel like that is the first step. Addressing the barriers, working through the barriers.
Yes.
And also, understanding what intimacy is, and then now working towards building a more intimate environment for your marriage.
So if you have any additional tips, any additional tips that you felt have really, really helped and worked in your marriage, please put them in the chats, because we're supposed to be doing this together. We Peak Seekers, we in this together, right? We want to know things that have worked for you, that have helped you be intimate with your partner. And again, like you said, we've talked about sex, but sex has not been the primary focus in any of these different domains at all. So if you know there are things that have worked for you, drop it in the link in bio. Let us know what you thought about the episode. And let's make this an intentional year where we're all focusing on our intimacy.
Intentionality.
Intentionality is the name of the game. It might be.
I feel like last year was all about communication.
We still don't think that we ever forgot about that.
Never coming up off it.
We're not gonna stop talking about
Never coming up off communication.
But intentionality might be. It might be.
We might have to. Yeah.
It's January. We don't know yet.
Yeah. I like
but
that.
We want to thank you guys for rocking with us for another episode. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Join our mailing list so you get our newsletter, learn about all the things that we have coming up. We are excited. It's January. The fire is burning, and we just know it's going to be a good year. So be intimate, stay intimate, work on your intimacy. And again, we want to thank you for joining us for another episode of Chats from the Peak.
Bye.